Hello everybody, welcome back to Its Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. Today on Doc Karaz, I am playing the Warriors of Chaos, one of my favourite factions, up against the lesser Chaos Warriors, the Norscans. And I've got something a little bit cheesy for you today. So my opponent's force, we'll go through his force first. He's got Marauders with great weapons, actually 5 Marauders with great weapons, a couple of Marauders with shields on the flanks. He's also gone pretty mobile, as Norsca usually will do. So some Norscan Warhounds, some Marauder Horsemen out here, unit of Skin Wolves. He's sort of mirrored that on the other side. So Hounds, double Horsemen, and Skin Wolves. He has taken a Feral Manticore up in the air, one of the better, more cost-effective single entity monsters. He's got a Metal Sorcerer who has taken just Final Transmutation, so actually going to be pretty decent against what I've taken. We'll see that in a sec. And he's taken Wulfric up on his big mammoth. So he's got the Sword of Torgold actually for the massive base weapon damage boost. Now it's probably not. Base weapon damage, 90% base weapon damage on the Mammoth isn't actually that much. So, interesting to see if that's actually worth it. But when you're doing 525, it's probably pushes him up to close to probably over 600 at least. So, pretty good in a pinch at in a duel or whatnot. Sea Fang and Hunter of Champions, all his other ones, as well as Fight of Die. So for my force, we've gone pretty mobile ourselves. We've got 4 units of Marauder Horsemasters and then 1 unit of Marauder Horsemen, just regular Horsemen. And then we've got a big dirty box of Chosen with Halberds. Figured, aside from maybe Marauder Champions with great weapons, I can pretty much take on anything on the Norscan roster and do well. Insane, obviously melee defense, insane melee attack with their anti-large, but melee defense. Even if they're fighting infantry, melee defense isn't something that the Norscans have in spades. So good armor piercing, obviously great leadership. Charge defense. Skin Wolves are going to have a tough time cracking this. And like I said, even Marauder Champions and great weapons, probably they're not going to invest heavily in this matchup. In the middle here, I've got a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire who has taken Fireballs and Burning Head, Fireball and Flaming Sword rather. So, obviously ever wary of Skin Wolves, even Ice Trolls and things like that, weak to fire damage. And then we have Kolek, Sun Eater. Now I've actually taken all his abilities off. He's just got the Stand or Die just for the melee defense and the leadership. But I took Lord of the Storm off, and I figured he's hitting hard enough without the Star Crusher. So I made some cuts and basically took him as cheap as he can come. So we're basically just going to march up in this really ugly, really try-hard Chosen box. As my Horsemasters are going to try and do a lot of early work, try and win the skirmish game so they can be used as cycle charges and get shots into Wulfric once this is off the field. But I've seen obviously that he's mirrored it, and I've decided to just go all in on one side to try and do as much damage as I can. Now these Hounds are probably going to rout fairly quickly, and then obviously Horsemasters into regular Horsemen is a good matchup for me. Didn't want to go too far up with Kolek there. He's obviously a bit faster than the infantry, but just pulling back with the Skin Wolves coming up. Skin Wolves, this is another area where Flaming Sword can be handy. Flaming Sword on these guys shooting at Skin Wolves will pretty much work them down pretty quick. And we're seeing here just like the focus fire of everything here is really doing a number on whatever he throws at me. Now, I'm not really worried about Horsemen firing at Kolek. Maybe they can chip some damage off Kolek, but he's got 95 armor. All of my Chosen, 120 armor. They're going to shrug off a great deal of it. But this is my first mistake. I'm a little bit too boxed up, and an overcast Final Transmutation. Unfortunately, I retreat Kolek into it right as he casts it, and that is getting 3 of my units of Chosen. So that's a big mistake by me. Now it doesn't really drop. I say that it doesn't drop a ton of models. It's dropped about 30 models, so that's a really nice pickup in the early game. 25 elite infantry dealt with for basically no downside there. So that was one downside of this force is it does want to bunch up. And Final Trans is one way to really punish it. So like I said before, Flaming Sword on this box, but unfortunately the Skin Wolves have pulled back, so that's a bit of a dud play by me. But now we see the Manticores maybe overextended. I think I might be able to possibly enrage it, but we just want to deal with one side. I need to get this dealt with as much as I can. I'm fanning out now a little bit with my Chosen. I mean, Marauders with great weapons will put a bit of hurt on them, but 20 melee defense in their own right, they're going to get cut down really quick, even by Chosen. Hounds coming in, trying to do some pressure. Again, just going to screen out with the Chosen, and countercharging, honestly, with the Horsemasters here would probably be the best plan. They'll probably actually kill the Norscan Warhounds quicker in combat than they will with their shooting, and they want to try and conserve as much ammunition as possible. So I'm getting a little bit blobbed, and I think he's realised that he can maybe commit a little bit here into combat and try and just work, get a 2-for-1 where possible, possibly get some damage and do a terror out as we see a nice boat come down. I think it just clipped the edge of the Chosen there. I did manage to dodge it just ever so slightly, but the Manticore now is grounded, and I'm basically just sort of delta splitting my cav and just not letting him isolate anything particularly well. I know I've got the pace to outrun, and I know that over time these guys will be worn down. Kolek has overextended because Wulfric came up to do that boat, so he got a couple of hits in actually on Wulfric, and he's going to return now to behind the safety of the Chosen box, and the front lines at the moment are pretty much staring at one another. Both players kind of realize that the game is going to be won and lost heavily on the back of the skirmish play. Now this unit of Marauder Horsemasters unfortunately does get isolated and broken off, so a good little pickup from my opponent, but we do manage to get the Warhounds here. We may be able to get these Horsemen, and now I'm just sort of trying to bait up maybe a charge order from these Skin Wolves to try and pull them back into the Chosen. Once they click, fall back, and then just bring the Chosen up to screen. And we're going to try and bring our Horsemasters back to the fold as well as we can. This is obviously the regular unit of Horsemen, so not a massive I've got my real decent skirmish cav fanned out a little bit more, and unfortunately we see in the distance here these Horsemasters are going to be ferried off the field. So I'm going to take a pretty long circuitous route here. We do manage to rampage the Feral Manticore, and we're going to sort of pull it just to the edge of the map here where it can potentially be fired down and maybe routed and made to flee towards the white line. But I am wary now at this point of these guys being able to basically fan out and trap me in the corner. So I am going to sort of try and shoot the gap here and advance with my front line here to try and get maybe some rear charges. Put these guys in combat and maybe get some rear charges here, break them quickly. Again, fighting close to the white line here is good for me because I know my leadership will pretty much hold. Save for one of these Chosen units getting massively isolated and cycle charge, potentially terror outed by Wulfric. I know that these guys will do their job and they'll stick around and fight, but we see it's sort of getting a little bit dangerous for me here. These Hounds are probably going to rout, and again, with the white line so close, any of these routing units may, if they run in the right direction, may actually just be a free pickup for me. So these Hounds gonna probably flee, and I'm starting to just fling fireballs at Wulfric, soften him up for the fight to come. I know one-on-one, Kolek, if I can get a couple of fireballs down and tip the balance there, he can probably actually kill Wulfric reasonably well. And if not, he can run back to the Chosen anyway and get the anti-large. These guys will actually break again, which is really nice for me there because we probably got a good split on my units there, and unfortunately one of them is going to get caught, and the white line here is going to act against me. A big time against me. This is a terror out, so they'll come back quick. So that's a big pickup by my opponent, and at this point I'm feeling pretty desperate. That's a massive loss. These guys are going to rally. No, they're not going to rally. Sorry, I went early on that call. Another final transmutation going down by my opponent. I don't believe it was Overcast this time, but there is some significant damage going into my Chosen before the fighting started, and we've trying here, and this was really frustrating. I saw the Metal Shaman isolated here, and I've done 3 or 4 attack animations here, and I don't think one of them has hit him. So foot character meta, definitely a sticky meta. Kolek should have absolutely swallowed that guy. I know he's not on a horse or anything, so he's not anti-large, but still would have thought 3 or 4 attacks from Kolek Suneater may have been enough to rout him and get him off. But again, pull him back. I don't want to get isolated. I really can't afford to lose actually anything more. We have expended at the very least a lot of ammunition, and his horse masters are very, very tattered. We're seeing if we can once again maybe rampage his Feral Manticore and get it down into the Chosen. So I am happy to use the ammunition there, but we're starting to get a little bit of a wrap. We're pushing him into the corner, and as I said, fighting when the infantry lines hit, the white line will be my friend. I'm gonna last in this fight longer than him. Marauders don't have bad leadership, 69 with yeah, nice. 69 with obviously the encourage aura from Wulfric is fine, but it's not 76. Oh, they've taken some damage. It's not 80s that the Chosen have. So just trying to spread out now, making sure he can't push around. We may do a little bit of a fast play just as it goes up. We do manage to get that Metal Sorcerer who's going to flee off the battlefield. And now my opponent is finally, having been pretty satisfied that he's used a lot of his ammunition, we are going to see some fighting. So these guys have unfortunately used all their ammo, and we didn't manage to get the Feral Manticore, but I did notice there was an attack order, so I just tried to pull it out of the fight. Wulfric's going to come in. Again, Chosen getting a little bit blobbed up. I've got to be wary of the boat. Seafang coming down and potentially hurting me, but we've done a pretty good job. You see, without too much frontline fighting, we're going to use the mass of the Marauder Horsemen here to pin the Manticore on the ground and maybe get the Chosen to come back in. But Wulfric's down to half health. He's still obviously got 5k HP because he just has a massive hit pool. But the slow push continues. I think my opponent wants to get to the top of the hill here and then charge downhill, which is a fair enough play. But we have managed to break this Manticore. The mass from the Marauder Horsemen has pinned it down. They started with 3 chevrons, so they've earned an extra one now. And now Wulfric's overextended massively. Fireball coming into him, Kolek coming into him. Absolutely appalling fireball aiming from the Fire Sorcerer there, but you win some, you lose some. The Marauder Horsemen unfortunately break, but even in their tattered state, the longer this fight goes, probably the better. The more worn down the Marauders will get. Obviously, they will get their enrage mechanic, but again, I have a Terra Causa. I have the ability to imbue fire damage, so I still feel pretty good about where we're at. From a unit model perspective, other than this model, I'm pretty healthy, and we see here Flaming Sword will go down. Just to give them heaps of as much of a boost as I can, and as Wulfric does commit here. Even this one on the end here, 27 models, they'll actually last. That's a better fireball, right into his butt. But they are going to hold reasonably well. Marauder Horsemaster charge, even in the rear. I think they're actually going for Kolek, but they're not going to be too scared. And you see that really, without taking too much damage at all. I don't think they even got to level 1 just of their enrage mechanic before they routed. So now our Marauder Horsemasters are kind of come in again, just doing some cycle charging. The Skin Wolves now are going to be a bit of an issue, but Flaming Sword again, they have to commit at some point. I'm going to hold some Flaming Swords up the sleeve. Just keep fireballing Wulfric, just keep working him down. It's another 300 damage that he really can't afford to take, because he can't really fight in and amongst any of these troops with that much ammunition, with that much HP left. Kolek is reasonably healthy. The Skin Wolves are going to be a bit of a pain. They're going to do okay against Kolek, but Wulfric here, sub 2000 HP, Chosen winning combat, or combat even, we'll take that, I guess. And the Sorcerer now just being committed to combat. I think I'm saving up here for one sort of late game fiery sword. Actually, there it is. There's the Flaming Sword. So really good timing there by my opponent. I should have probably cancelled that spell because the Skin Wolves have pulled out. But it's sort of given me... It's not that bad for me. It's giving me an opportunity just to work off all the infantry that is buffing the frontline fighting, and we're still under the influence of Flaming Sword here. So these Skin Wolves, you can see their HP is ticking away, and that's good play by my opponent, recognizing that's not a fight he wants to be in while that's going down. Stand or Die coming down just for more leadership and melee defense. Kolek's actually getting a little bit worn down. The cycle charger from the Wind Wolves has been really good, but now that Wulfric's charged right into the mass of the Chosen, look at the HP losses he's taking here. You'll be able to pull out and trample some of my Chosen and get away, but now we can basically just sick Kolek on him and basically just do a slow push and push him towards the end of the map. Minus 12, you know, he may, sort of the funny little in between there where he may shatter, but he may come back. But again, if my opponent wants to stop that, he has to commit his Skin Wolves, and Kolek can fight in amongst Chosen and happily fight Skin Wolves and wear them down just through attrition with anti-large. Marauder Horsemen now, having expended their ammo, they're going to have to come back to combat. The Skin Wolves break. Wulfric does manage to rally just short of the white line, but again, look at our, 39 models, 31. These two are pretty tattered, 25 and 10, but they've just outlasted the armor piercing of the Marauders. They've just been able to hold the Skin Wolves at bay, and a dirty Chosen box has carried the day. So have to give some props to my opponent here, Bloody Mark. He did, I would say he won. I would say he pretty decisively won the skirmish game. He managed to close me into the corner, split me up, and isolate me a little bit. They've got reasonably good value, all these guys. Probably none of them, or between them, they haven't really made their cost back. But a lot of HP left, and Marauder Horsemen have a decent charge bonus, so they could have been really good cycle. They would cycle charge Marauders nicely. Obviously no real armor to speak of on the Marauders. Would have probably cleared that frontline fighting out pretty quick. We could have then used their mass to pin the Skin Wolves in for a Flaming Sword. So that's one area of the battle that my opponent did win fairly decisively. But I think the out of the box 4 times Chosen Halberd pick, 14 kills. You can argue that they haven't obviously got their value back. These guys have, but the other two haven't. But they've just outlasted the opposition, and Wulfric only getting that much damage value is pretty poor. One or two good final trans down, so he's definitely paid for himself, the Shaman Sorcerer. But we do manage to break him off. Kolek's got his value back. The Sorcerer, he's not worth really much more than that with Fireball and Flaming Sword. And just the constant pressure on Wulfric has got him to a pretty... I think he was down to half health before the real frontline fighting even starts. So we just had to just put up with taking some hits from the ammunition and that kind of thing. With 28 speed, you're never going to catch anyone with Chosen versus Halberd. Chosen with halberds, but could have probably forced that frontline fight a little bit quicker had I been better with my skirmish cav. So some lessons to learn, but hey, Chosen with halberds. They did what they needed to do today, and they all obviously, as I said, value not necessarily there, but still relatively healthy, save for this unit by the end of the battle, and they give Kolek somewhere to retreat to relative safety. So thanks to Bloody Mark for the game. And thanks for checking it out. Until next time, take care.